You're watching Euronews Tonight. Our top stories. More than 100,000 cases of COVID-19 in Italy, but a glimmer of hope as infection rates fall. Up to 1 million Britons stranded abroad. The British government vows to do what it takes to bring them home. Global air travel comes to a near standstill. EasyJet grounds its entire fleet. We look at the impact of the pandemic on the industry. And fans of the Olympics have a new date to look forward to. The Games will now begin on July the 23rd, 2021. Hello and welcome to the programme. Well, over 750,000 coronavirus cases around the world. Over 100,000 of those are in Italy. In just under 2 weeks, COVID-19 has brought the country to a virtual standstill. Hospitals are being pushed to their very limits as the death toll there continues to mount. More than 11,000 people have died so far. 812 fatalities were registered just on Monday. But there is a bright spot. The country has posted its smallest daily new infection rate in nearly 2 weeks. Giorgio Landi has more on those figures.
Indeed, Isabel, according to the latest figures, Italy's death toll has risen by 812 in the last 24 hours. That is slightly more than what we saw yesterday. But despite that, generally speaking, the total number of new infections in Italy, and in particular in the Lombardy region, the epicenter of the outbreak, has been decreasing in the last few days. That shows that lockdown measures are working, but also, as experts have said, we might be close to saying, to confirm that the peak phase of the outbreak has passed, and after that we would only see a decrease in the number of new infections. Today's positive news also is that the number of people who have recovered from the infection has never been so high. Now the question is the quarantine period, how long this will be extended for. We know that the deadline is the 3rd of April. Well, experts are currently reviewing the latest figures and will have the final say on that.
And that's really important, isn't it, Georgia? And this positive news can only be welcomed by Italians, many of whom are feeling very tense after weeks of lockdown. And there has been some social unrest as it all just becomes too much for people.
Yes, there has been, Isabel. In fact, a new level of poverty is emerging in the country, especially in the south, something that we're never seen before. Middle-class families, professionals who have to steal food from inside supermarkets as a way to survive. In fact, shoplifting in the south of Italy has increased dramatically in the last few weeks. This is why, well, Prime Minister Conte took that very seriously. On Saturday, he announced a new package of measures to help those people in need. He announced that 4.3 billion euros would be made immediately available to mayors to cope with their citizens' requests, but also 400 million euros would be provided in a fund for people who cannot buy food. Isabel.
Well, Spain has become the second European nation to officially overtake China's number of confirmed COVID-19 infections. Spanish authorities say the total number of infections in the country has surpassed 85,000, and the death toll is also on the rise. More than 800 new fatalities have been reported, pushing the total past 7,300. The infection spike has coincided with new containment measures in the Iberian country. All non-essential workers have been confined to their homes until at least April the 9th. In the UK, the COVID-19 death toll has risen by 159. It brings the total number of coronavirus-related fatalities there to more than 1,400. Well, UK authorities have renewed calls to the public to follow the lockdown measures. Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab says the government is working round the clock to ensure tens of thousands of British people around the world can get home.
I've spoken to more than 20 foreign ministers around the world in the last week or so to support this effort to keep airports and ports open and to facilitate access to them by British travellers. Over the weekend, I spoke to foreign ministers from Australia, New Zealand, India and Brazil and Pakistan. And I also spoke to the Ethiopian Prime Minister, and in all of those cases urged them to work with us to keep commercial routes flying.
Well, Vincent McAviney told me the skies over London are very quiet at the moment.
London normally has some of the busiest skies in the world with 5 major airports, but you can see behind me they're totally empty. I checked my flight radar app and there is nothing up there. That is because most of the commercial airlines have pretty much stopped all of their operations, and that's why they're having such a problem with getting the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of British people abroad back into the UK. So the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, hosting the meeting for the first time, he explained a package whereby airlines like British Airways, EasyJet and Virgin Atlantic will be working with the government to fly people back from certain locations, and then they're telling anyone where commercial flights are still operating from to book flights immediately and get back to the UK. Now, it's very complex. He explained that their call centre normally gets around 1,000 calls a day from people seeking assistance if they get in trouble abroad. Last week, they were averaging about 15,000 a day, so they've had to ramp up the numbers of people operating that. But